Something as simple as a kid, in the middle of war, holding up a flag in hopes that Superman will come to save him. Beautiful.
Powerful, powerful. Well, Angel, since you agreed with that, you some Ben and Jerry's for you.
Love me some ice cream.
Get the calcium in, bro. Well, Angel, let's move on to a movie that you and I watched, not together, but here we are to lament over this film.
Hmm.
Um, it is 2023, I believe, 2023. Um, The Flash, directed by Andy Muschietti. And, you know, we talked a lot about the Snyder Cut being kind of the end of the Snyderverse, technically, right? Like
Hmm.
that's the one that brought, for me at least, some closure to that world. This acts kind of as an end to the DCEU, even though there were films to come out after. This is truly the wrap up of the
Hmm.
DCEU, in my opinion, The Flash. And this is a movie that had been in development for what, like probably like a decade, I think. They announced it like the film back like in 2015, 20 I don't even know what year, but they announced it a while back. And then Ezra Miller was announced, and then the movie finally came out after a bunch of films. Um,
Yeah.
so can you explain your experience going to see The Flash?
Well, Flash is my fourth favorite DC character. It goes Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the Flash. My favorite
Mhm.
version of the Flash is from Justice League, Wally West, played by Michael Rosenbaum. And I've
Yeah.
always wanted to see that version of the Flash on the big screen. For me as a DC fan, I was hoping for the best. I wanted to be the best movie ever. We had we had James Gunn saying that it was one of the greatest superhero movies ever. We had Tom Cruise paid by Warner Brothers to say that he saw the Flash and thought it was great. Um, so I went to go watch it and it wasn't any of those things. It was the exact opposite. It seemed like they got reverse James Gunn and reverse Tom Cruise to say that it was good to mess with us all. But honestly, it, for me as a DC fan, the movie overall I just felt like was again, it reminded me of my experience with the Whedon cut of Justice League in 2017. It just felt embarrassing to watch. It felt like instead of maybe moving on from the closure of Zack Snyder's Justice League, they kind of doubled down on the abomination that was Joss Whedon's Justice League theatrical cut. And they basically said, here, damn, to all the Zack Snyder fans with the Snyder cut, 4 hours. Here, damn, here, 4 hours on HBO Max. And we're like, we're gonna ignore all that, and we're gonna use the Flash to hit a reset button on a DC universe that we even believe we failed, and you're gonna like it. And for me personally, just the movie just was not for me. I just felt like the characterization of Barry was just too much in that movie. I felt like the closest we got was in Zack Snyder's version of Justice League. But in the Flash movie, it kind of felt like it reminded me of Thor's portrayal in Thor Love and Thunder, where just the character
Mm.
just completely regressed to like this, I don't know, just childlike, goofy character that just was nothing like the one we loved from the comics or the animated series. The CGI was abysmal. The villain was it did nothing for me. I think the only redeemable quality would probably be the scene with the mother and him trying to save his mom, which of course is the core central part of the Flashpoint story. But if you're going to adapt that story, adapt that story. Don't just half-ass it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like bring in Reverse Flash, bring in Thomas Wayne. You have great elements of the story that you are adapting that you're not utilizing. What happened? Did your balls drop off? Like, come on, bro. Goofy. Like it's so frustrating to talk about that movie because it's like
Yeah.
you're adapting a story, but you're gonna half-ass it. Well, it showed. It showed.
Well, man, how do you follow that? Um, I think the thing is with this movie, it didn't help that the any sort of hype or excitement for it is deflated going in knowing that this movie kind of means nothing since at that point James Gunn was announced as the new head of DC and that he
Hmm.
was pretty much going to reboot everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe him for a second when he said that this was the greatest film of all time. For the record, like I understand, hey, you're
Yeah,
the new head of DC, you gotta, prop up. He said the same kind of thing about Blue Beetle, and he didn't say much about Aquaman. I don't think he said anything about Aquaman, but yeah,
he
no,
didn't.
it's yeah, and Aquaman's also coming out. Um, it didn't help that just knowing that this movie is kind of going to mean nothing in the long run. How does that help momentum for any sort of excitement? Um,
Hmm.
the only thing that this movie really had going for it, in my opinion, was Michael Keaton as Batman, the return,
Hmm.
because that is something that is it means a lot to a lot of people. Because, you
Hmm.
and I weren't around when Michael Keaton's first, yeah, either run around as Batman came out.
Hmm.
Um, so that's something that has just been in audiences' minds for decades at this point. Like he's Batman for a lot of people. So, them announcing his return is a very smart move. And Michael Keaton's a great actor and everything. And, of course, but you're right in that they just kind of half-assed Flashpoint because Flashpoint is a very specific story with very specific circumstances. And they're doing a DCEU take on a lot of the ideas in there, replacing Thomas Wayne's Batman with Michael Keaton, um, replacing Superman with Supergirl, not even having Cyborg involved in this for whatever reason, um, having the world-ending threat be Zod, like making confusing canon decisions because I'm not even 100% sure in the way they portray the multiverse in this film. Is it the Flash's, is it his actions that create the Tim Burton continuity? Because I hope not. I don't want that to be the case in any sort of canon. You know, um,
Yeah.
I just found so many of those aspects disappointed. The redeemable part for me were the Batman segments,
Mm.
with Michael Keaton. You know, um, I really and honestly, this might sound like a fanboyism on my part. Okay. All right, so be prepared. But the fact that they didn't even have a cameo from Grant Gustin, it's like they didn't
Hmm.
even care about the fans up in here. They really just didn't care, man. It was really disheartening.
Yeah. That you actually reminded me. I had this movie blocked in my head to the point where like I even forgot Michael Keaton was in it. I forgot Batman was in it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And here's the problem. Michael Keaton really put DC on the map in terms of movies and kind of defined a tone for Batman. And to see the way that he was utilized in this movie, loved his scenes, but his ending,
Oh yeah.
his death, come on, man. Like you're literally disrespecting one of the legends of DC, the man who started it, really. So that to me was infuriating. And yeah, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how they handled him. I couldn't believe that again this movie felt very reactionary to what Marvel was doing. Hey, they're in the multiverse saga. Why don't we do multiverse? Why don't we do multiverse without
Hmm.
understanding the significance of Flashpoint as a narrative story? Let's just do a multiverse. And because of that, we saw the result. There was no
Yeah.
heart. It's very reminiscent of Batman v Superman. Hey, they're doing Iron Man versus Captain America. Why don't we do Batman v Superman? Again, it's just one of those things where it's like, guys, you're making a movie without understanding why another one is significant narrative wise. And so that's why narratively this one failed.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
It's super frustrating. I mean, for a number of reasons. And I felt really bad because I think the only part that people, at least at my theater, was very there weren't many people at the theater where I went. Unfortunately, it was me and my buddy Andrew and like seven other people, you know. And I think the only part that people did clap at was when Michael Keaton says Batman, you know, and it was like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, like because it was great. But you talk about disrespecting one legend, they disrespect a couple, my boy,
Oh yeah, they do.
the one, the guy
That's
himself,
right. Man, I blocked this movie.
Christopher
I'm telling
Reeve.
you, man. I'm
Yeah,
telling
yeah,
you.
no, I can tell, dude. I can tell your Superman curl ain't protecting you today. Uh, they disrespected the goat, Christopher Reeve, in a big bad way, in a way that I feared they would. You know, like I'm 100% over deep fakes or CGI remodeling of dead people. Like I'm done with it. You know, it was like pushing it in Rogue One for me.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool in Mandalorian because Mark Hamill's alive,
Yeah.
but with this thing of like bringing back the dead through CGI, it's ridiculous. Like, okay, I watched it with my mom sometime last year, so
Hmm.
watching it at home with my mom is a very different experience because she was around when you know, those films came out, like Superman and uh Batman 89 came out and everything. So she has a very different reaction to seeing,
Hmm.
you know, she was very like touched by that. And from what I understand, Christopher Reeve's family was also kind of got a similar reaction because it's, you know, it's their family and everything. But for me, man, seeing that was just like, wow, this is pandering. This
Yeah.
feels pandering, you know, and to include Nicolas Cage as Superman, like a CGI version of that dude. When apparently Nick shot a scene, like actually in a suit and everything. Come on,
Yeah. Even he
come
was
on.
disappointed.
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve's family was asked about it, and they were like, "We had no idea."
Oh, okay, okay.
So
I retract.
but that makes it even worse. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that they didn't know that that was going to happen, or unless they did, and then they saw it and were like, "Oh, yeah, we don't know anything about that." You know what I mean? As they were promoting the documentary. Um, yeah, that was disrespectful, and also, like you mentioned earlier, Grant Gustin played the Flash for 10 years.
Oh yeah,
Not one mention of him in a
yeah.
Flash multiverse movie. It's ridiculous.
No, they'll show a version of Jay Garrick that we've never seen before. That no one wanted to see. Instead of Grant. And if we're looking at canon, Grant's the reason Ezra's version got the name,
Yeah,
you know? So like it's wild to me that it even and Ezra Miller is a whole other aspect of this film that I think is just kind of tasteless at this. You
yeah,
know, it's another reason why it's like, oh, well, I guess this movie's also coming out.
yeah, yeah. He had his whole
Yeah.
fiasco before the movie too, so a lot of I think negative energy going into this movie behind the scenes, and from the general audience perspective. Yeah,
Yeah.
I needed Barry to fix this, and they made it worse.
Right. Well, you know, I think Eobard was directing this shit. You know,
he showed this
that's the only explanation.
he showed the movie to Barry's mom, and she died.
Yes. Oh my God. When I watch a Flash movie and at the end I'm like, James better introduce Wally. That's that's like that says it all, you know?
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's gonna give us Wally. Um, and hopefully we'll get
Yeah.
Kid Flash for Young Justice. We'll see, or Teen Titans, depending on what he does.
I I don't know, man. I just know that like this was this kind of hurt, you know? And that's it. That's all it did. It kind of just hurt at the end,
It
you
did
know?
hurt. It did hurt. Because I love the Flash. The Flash.
Yeah.
The Flash solo is most of Marvel. Bro's that
Right.
guy. Bro's that
Yeah.
guy. I'm waiting for him to get all these characters, man. They all need to be done justice, bro. Like, please, before we have kids, can we just see these legends that we loved as kids get proper treatment on the big screen?
If I ever get an opportunity to have kids, can I Well, that's the thing. One aspect of this that we've kind of lightly talked about is that Andy Muschietti, the director of this, is he's going to be doing Brave and the Bold, the Batman film in the DCU for now, at least.
Yeah.
Um, like, how do you feel about that? Do you think that because my favorite stuff in this film is the Batman stuff,
Hmm.
at the very least. Um, some of the high points are with all three Bruce Waynes for me. Like the Ben Affleck little speech about letting go, Michael Keaton's action, and I thought that bringing in George Clooney was like the best joke in the film. So, like,
Hmm.
did this on any level or any of Muschietti's other films give you any hope for Brave and the Bold?
Definitely the majority of his films. I think he's
Hmm.
great with horror.
Yeah,
He did Mama with Jessica Chastain, which is a great horror movie. The It chapter 1 and 2 are entertaining, and I love Bill Skarsgård's performance. The Flash, I think, was just a mess of like so many different things. The script over the years, handing off from one director to another director to another director. The whole Ezra Miller thing going on, the promotion, the executives probably stepping in and being like, change this, change that, all that stuff. I think it suffered from a lot of creative heads and things that just happened in life that was out of their control. So I would give Andy the benefit of the doubt for Batman Brave and the
hmm,
Bold. But if he steps down and we get somebody else, I'm also for that as well. Do I want him to do it? I would prefer somebody else. Even though I loved his Batman sequences, I would prefer somebody else. Because I don't want it to feel like the Flash. I don't want any
yeah,
part of the new movies to feel like the Flash or Joss Whedon's Justice League. I want them to have a distinct creative vision with a strong story leading to somewhere and having connectivity. If you're creating a DC universe, I don't want them to fear connectivity. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, that's how I feel about that.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it sucks to say that about because how many filmmakers have like a perfect track record? You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the tough thing. Um, am I against him doing it? Not 100%. I would prefer someone else get a chance
Mm-hmm.
to get their spin on Batman and to try to make a Batman that is just a comic book version. I'm kind of done with these versions of Batman. You know what I mean? Like we have like the Nolan version, the Reeves version, Joel Schumacher, Tim Burton. I just want Batman as Batman is.
Right.
And like I think there are several directors that could do that more fulfillingly. Like I think we talked about it a while ago. Um, Tim Miller, I think would do a great job with Batman, just giving us that straight up comic book to live action Batman. Look what he did with Deadpool and his video game work.
Yeah.
Is there any director that you would just kill to see do Batman in the DCU?
Tim Miller is a great shout. Um, I mean, if I could have any director, I
Oh
would
yeah.
choose Denis Villeneuve or David Fincher. I'd love to see their
Mm,
take. But they might
mm.
give us the more realistic Batman, but somebody that can give us realistic and fantastical. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, Tim Miller, I think would be the best choice.
Quentin Tarantino.
Tarantino as Alfred.
We're gonna get a shot of Barbara Gordon's feet, all right? And they're gonna be good. Right when she gets shot by the Joker, she lies down and we shoot her feet. Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the DCU.
Yeah, here's for the DCU, and honestly, it's going to be all about that casting. If James Gunn casts a kick-ass actor as Barry or Wally, that already says a lot. Because I don't as good as Ezra was in Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'm not sure if he was the best choice to play Barry Allen.
In general. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, this is kind of proof in the pudding, this his own film where I believe there was a time where he was writing a draft of the script with Grant Morrison, which was the craziest part. And or they, excuse me. But Ezra Miller, in this film feels like an extension of the Whedon cut version rather than the Snyder cut version, which is the most bizarre aspect. It like I could not believe that they went to the extent they did, and then comparison, like you mentioned it. Grant Gustin was the Flash for 10 years, and even though his show wasn't great 100% of the time, his characterization and care for that character is up front and center. He's Barry Allen, dog.
Yeah.
So, like to have them both in front of everybody, compare and contrast and everything is crazy. I want whoever is the next Flash to just get the charisma, that kind of not exactly frat boy charisma, but like confident, not goofy. I want a cool guy as the Flash. Is that crazy? Is that crazy? Not crazy.
Yeah, you want somebody funny and cocky because
Yeah.
to be the world's fastest man alive, that already is such a great character description. It kind of gives you everything you need to know about Barry Allen. You know what I mean? Like he's got to carry that cockiness and that funniness, that confidence with him, but he's also really smart too. And when he needs to get down, he gets down. You
Hmm.
just you just got to innately have that in you. You know what I mean? They can't find somebody. That's the thing about these characters. You can't find somebody that acts the role. Really, they just are. They just are that role. And I think hopefully with David Cornsweet, he's the first and main one with Superman. We're not going to see an actor play Superman. We're going to be somebody embody Superman.
I agree, man. It seems like all the casting for those who would be the Justice League in the DCU, because they got Superman, John Stewart, Hawk Girl. Who else do they have? They have another member. Well, regardless, the casting has been phenomenal so far. Kyle Chandler is as Hal Jordan. Come on, doc. Like that is
That's a great one.
brilliant casting. Yeah, yeah.
That's a great one. I mean, I would have preferred younger Hal, prime Hal,
Oh,
but
sure, sure.
but Cal Chandler is a great actor, and I can see him as an older, seasoned Hal Jordan. You know,
Hmm.
but the stories I've read, like Earth One, uh, Earth One Lanterns, that was a younger Hal who
Hmm.
mentored John Stewart. But yeah, the season Hal, we'll see how James handles that.
Oh, I love it. I just love that those choices, even if, say we're not sold on the actor. I
Hmm.
love the idea of like Kyle. Kyle is a great example. Kyle being Hal Jordan implies a history to this
Yeah.
world. You know what I mean? Like it's him being cast as Hal is world building in of itself. This guy's lived through a life and everything, has done great things. I love that. And whoever they get for Batman, Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Wonder Woman, I hope has the same kind of impact in that. Like casting them implies so much. Like, oh God, that's perfect. Like back in the day, Gosling would have been the guy for Flash. You know what I mean? Like, come
Hmm.
on, Doc. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And they have to feel like a team. They have to feel like a family. Look at what Marvel did with Thunderbolts. Nobody knows who Thunderbolts is. Nobody's really familiar with those characters. You know what I mean? But you watch that movie and this team, what they go through, they feel like a family. And the way they're there for each other at the very end, you buy it. You know what I mean? And now we're gonna have the general audience talking about Thunderbolts more than the Justice League. Like, put that in your head for a second. What? I need DC to step it up. Tired of this.
God damn it.
Thor 3 made more than Justice League, my boy.
That's crazy. That's a crazy statement. Yo, we need Lewis Pullman as the Flash, all right? We need that dude as the
Man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? We're obviously a mix of hype and existential dread.
It's the
That's
most
just
negative
the
you'll see me, guys. I'm sorry. We're talking
honestly,
about the Flash and we're talking about
yeah, yeah, now, but like back in the day, there's some videos that I know Angel is glad are deleted. It was like a fucking hero. Yeah, well, hey guys, This was a great discussion. Just wait, just wait. We're excited for Superman, and yeah, that's all we can do. Just look up
All we can do, look up and hope.
and hope. All right, guys. Angel, where can the people find you?
Thank you all so much for watching today. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you guys tune into Julius's channel, Bumbling Cinema. It's a great YouTube channel. And for me, you can follow me at BluRayAngel 11 on TikTok. All my other socials, BluRayAngel, and on YouTube, Goat Movie Podcast.
As of today of this recording, Angel has reached 10K on his Instagram, which is
Yeah.
insanity. Look at that. That's crazy. He's conquering. Look in the back.
Yeah, no, that's so
Jonathan
cool.
Majors.
That's so cool. And all of you content creators, if you're just on one platform, start posting your videos everywhere. Every algorithm is different, but you're going to continue to grow, and every follower counts when it comes to creating a community and, you know, trying to uplift each other. So post everywhere.
All right, guys. We'll see you at Superman. Everybody, have a good one. Stay safe and good.